Hey y'all, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Lindsay back. Lindsay, I meant to look and see when your last podcast was, and I forgot. So it was a while ago.
Sometime in the summer, I think. So
wow. Okay,
yeah.
good. Well, you're one of my first ones for sure, I think. Because you have been with me so long. Because I asked the ones in the first, I was like, okay, so since you've been with me for a while and I'm much more comfortable with you, you get to be the first ones on the podcast.
Yay.
I watched I guess it was a reel on Facebook. No, it was Instagram. Anyway, what it is, y'all don't care. But it was like, quit worrying about what people think about you. Do you want to start a YouTube channel? Do it. Do you want to start a business? Do it. Do you want to do a podcast? Do it. And I'm like, I've done all those things. I did it because I wanted to and I just did it. And honestly, that it could have all like not done. And honestly, in the land of podcasts, I mean, this isn't reaching millions of people. I don't care. If it just touches one person, that's my goal. So anyway, all that to say, I'm proud of myself this afternoon.
You did it.
You realize things like that you do. So
Yes.
Lindsay, just a little recap, share a little bit about you. And so this focus of this is a little update because Lindsay has news to share. And I have been just on the front row watching her change. And it's been amazing. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. So go ahead. Tell us a little about yourself.
Just a recap. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been married for 13 and a half years to my husband, Daniel. We pretty much started having kids right away. So our oldest is about to turn 13, and then we have an 11-year-old, almost 9-year-old, almost 6-year-old, almost 4-year-old, and now 22 weeks pregnant, surprisingly, with number 6. So.
I'll never forget her messages because she's been one-on-one for a while, and she was like, I really think I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh my stars, okay. With number 6. And then, yes, I am. What am I going to do? All this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. That's between
lots of emotions.
It's just been great. Because it wasn't, I mean, I would imagine since you agreed to talk about this, you're cool. But like, it wasn't that exciting. I mean, I don't want to say you weren't excited about the baby, but it was scary and overwhelming.
It was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think scared you the most?
Honestly, I think it was really just like I was, 2 years into my health journey and feeling really good about myself and just like the best I had. And really, I took on the last podcast I shared, I took a couple months off coaching to try and get my hormones under control because my hormones were just postmenopausal, it was saying. And I'm like, okay, my hormones are whack. And so.
And then you get pregnant.
So I tried to get that under control. If anybody cares, I was on hormonal birth control. I went off of birth control to try and get things sorted out. And I'm like, okay, this is my answer. Like, I finally felt like this was like the ticket, like the one thing I hadn't tried, I was like, I wasn't going to give that up because I wasn't planning to have more kids.
Yes.
And then lo and behold, the hormones got balanced really fast. Let's just say that. And here we are. So
here we are.
So now it is exciting, but it definitely was like, oh my gosh, like now the scale's going to go in the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. And I just really struggled with that. And really talking with you, realizing that I struggled with more of like a diet mentality instead of the actual food freedom. And it was very apparent once I became pregnant. And like, I'm obsessing. This is like really not healthy for me. I'm breaking down over food choices or what I don't have available or what I do. And it was, so it's helped me to kind of just step back and just take a little bit more relaxed approach, which I think is what the sisters meant it to be anyway, but it took me being pregnant to figure that out. So I am thankful for that. That has really helped me. I mean, the freedom that I feel now is drastically different than the last few years. So
yeah. So good. So she sent me some pictures. Was that yesterday, Lindsay?
I think so, yeah.
And so I had a podcast it was a double booking on my part. So I have Tipsmith. My Tipsmith talk is Friday at 8 a.m. I never put it in my calendar. I normally don't do things on Friday morning. So I just never did. Well, I booked a podcast interview for the exact same time. And so I emailed her. I was like, yo, girl, I can't. I got Tipsmith. And she was like, that's okay. We'll try again. And then I'm like, who am I going to get to replace her at last minute? And that's when you sent those pictures. And I'm like, they need to hear Lindsay's story, because whether or not they're expecting, what you just said happens to women all the time. They come into THM, and y'all, I know y'all have heard me say this. They come in weight loss minded. You're not going to last here weight loss minded. You're not, because you're going to, I mean, there might be a few, but whatever. The general public, you know, you're going to hit a stall, or the first 3 weeks, you're not going to lose anything and you're going to give up. And I really think that mindset shift and that expectation has got to go out the window. In my buds group, you know, that first challenge is ditch the scale. And I asked them, don't get on the scale for 6 weeks. Trust the plan. Trust me. If you can do those 3 things, we're going to be able to cover so much ground in those 6 weeks. Yeah. So I'm just so glad, so proud. I remember those color sheets that your daughter made. And it's like God just sent you these little bits of things at just the right time when you needed them during a day. Because everybody's day is weird. And we've talked about nobody's week is normal. We always say, oh, it's just been a crazy week. When is it not?
Right.
I have had kids home sick the last 3 weeks, y'all. I work from home full time, and I got extra people. I'm like, y'all are not supposed to be here. You know, there's never a normal week. You know, and the week in between that, we were gone on our trip that got cut short. And so, oh man, it's always so crazy. So that brings me. Was there anything else you wanted to mention about mindset? Any little tidbits you wanted to share?
I mean, realistically, for me, it was just like, if I really can focus on protein first and foremost, and not, I talked about it in the last podcast, I think too, but I'm realizing so much more the importance. It's like the last few weeks, I come across people who aren't even following THM, or who are, all these posts where it's like the importance of protein, and multiple people I've talked to. And it's just like, you know, I used to put that as top when I felt my best. And so I think, I don't remember what the book recommends. Is it, you can tell me, what is the book?
20 to 30 in a meal and 10 to 15 in a snack.
And so for me personally, it's more like 30 grams no matter what. Or else I'm literally like, I want chips, I want this, I'm hungry 30 minutes later. And I realized that it's like, so I've really been testing it the last few weeks for myself. And I'm not feeling like, oh, I need to just grab something right now because I'm so hungry, or my blood sugar is dropping and I don't feel good. It's like, I am satisfied, and I'm a lot less likely to eat off plan.
It satiates, it keeps your blood sugar stable. And of course it builds your muscle, which we need as women. We're not going to look like bodybuilders. I promise. If anybody's going to look like a bodybuilder, it'd be me, because I eat a lot of protein. I lift a lot. I lift heavy sometimes, but you know, it's you're not going to look like a bodybuilder. Those muscles are going to protect your bones. And as women, that's one thing we need. We need that bad. Oh my goodness. Good. Thank you for sharing that. Olivia, one of my young client, Olivia, 20-year-old, she talked about it being paramount protein. I had used that word apparently in a conversation, and it just, you know, that just got really close to her heart. And so we talked about that, and I wrote some new material, whatever, teaching material, and I used that in the document, paramount protein for SE and Fuel Pull. Just talking about that. So we're trying to make that a little trend, paramount protein.
I like that.
It helps you remember it though, you know, associating that. So I was talking about exercise, and I wanted to talk about your exercise. I kind of made fun of you last time doing your little jazzercise, and you know, out of the love of my heart, I do that because it's great. Any intentional movement is wonderful. So talk about how you've navigated that with your pregnancy.
Yeah, it's been harder because of my kids' schedule. My kids started going to school 3 days a week. It's kind of like hybrid homeschooling type model. So with that, I'm not able to go nearly as much, which is hard and frustrating for me. But obviously, just to preface all of it is, the movement isn't meant for punishment. That's meant for something to celebrate what your body is able to do.
Yeah.
And I look forward to it. It's like
Yeah.
I've done jazzercise. May will be 3 years, and I love it. And so finding something you love will keep you going. I think that sometimes it's like, oh, well, you hear so and so is running, or so and so is doing these, or so and you just don't want to
I
do
want to
those,
run.
honestly. And that is totally fine. It's like anything you can do to intentionally move your body
Amen.
is good for you.
That's right.
It doesn't have to look like somebody else. So I've had to kind of reevaluate for myself, because that's really hard for me. I was going 5 to 6 days a week. So I'm doing that 1 to 2 days a week. Now that the weather is a little nicer here in Missouri, I am able to walk with my kids usually pretty much every day.
Which she just got back from a walk, like literally.
Yes.
Starting.
So I look so good. I know. I did brush my hair though. So it was very, very, very windy out. But I am wanting to incorporate just at home, since I'm home so much. I figured my goal, and I've said it for a few weeks now on my calls with you, but my goal is to incorporate 1 to 2 days of strength training at home, just so that I am protecting my muscles, and which is helping my joints, because
and be prepared for
everything's
birth.
all loose and everything with birth, getting ready for birth. It's like my body is just kind of and it really helps to keep sciatic nerve pain down and all that kind of stuff. So it's like the more I'm able to move, the better for me. So I already have my workout clothes on, which is why I was going to work out. And then my husband said, let's take a walk. I did a walk. And then after this, I will do a strength training of some sort.
Love it. So, you just find things on YouTube, or do you have in your mind what you're going to do?
Yeah, usually on YouTube. And there's this other program that I don't necessarily follow their way of eating. They do like carb cycling, but I do like their workouts. And so, I mean, essentially Term Healthy Mama is like carb cycling, so that's fine.
It is.
But they do like low carb days and then regular carb days. And so I don't usually do that. I feel better if I can kind of juggle more, but I love their workouts. Their workouts are awesome, and they provide new workouts every day. So I do have a little subscription for that, and I love those. So I do those at home, and they recommend for women too, lifting heavy, which I thoroughly appreciate. You are not going to get bulky. And the owner of the program, she's I think like 28 weeks pregnant or something, and she's up there leading the workouts. And so it's really fun to see another pregnant mama doing it, and she's got, this is her 5th. And so it's kind of fun to do them. They're super encouraging too, and they love the Lord. And it is a great program. It just has some things that do not work for me.
For you. That's okay. That's okay.
Anyway.
Yes, I'm all about lifting heavy. And Tip Smith, sorry to talk about that again, but we had a little like a fun fact post or whatever. And so I put that I can deadlift 230 pounds, and like all the reactions and stuff, I'm like, it's a 1 rep max. Like, I'm not like pounding them out.
Right.
But I can do it.
But I can, yes.
I can. I choose not to do it often, but I can.
That's right.
Every now and then the guys are doing something. I'm like, hey, how much have y'all got on that bar? And they'll tell me, I'm like, let me pick it up one time. Just to make sure.
Nice.
Yes.
Just to challenge yourself. It's good.
Yeah. It's not gonna hurt anything. I know how to do everything properly. I have been taught very well. I have very good form, I've been told.
That's awesome.
Because I don't want to get hurt. That is not, no. Going back to a PVC pipe would be detrimental to my health. I would be so upset. I have to go back to that. Okay, so you talked about the carb cycling and fuel juggling. We just talked about that a little bit. So talk about how your fueling has changed or hasn't changed since you became pregnant. It's been a little bit of a journey.
It has been. So I'm like, oh goodness.
All right, take your time.
It's been, yeah, because right after I got pregnant, I got COVID. So for like a month, I just felt horrible and
Yeah.
kind of ate some toast or like some soup out of a can. Um, so I would say I probably feel best. I am doing better with just S and E now with having the amount of protein that I need.
That's right.
But before that, I was doing a lot of crossovers, a lot of S helpers. The having the fats sometimes it just make me nauseous, and
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In the beginning of pregnancy, you're usually rather nauseated. Not everybody
Yes,
has it the whole time, thank goodness. But I
yes,
have found with my clients, and it worked with you too, to do S helpers and maybe a crossover a little bit.
yes,
That really helps with the nausea for sure.
yes.
Mhm.
And I noticed for the crossovers, the less heavy it is, it's like not just, oh, I'm going to pile on all these fats and reach my max carbs.
That's
You
right.
know, when you're doing that, you know, not that I'm really overly concerned with the scale, but the scale
It would
ticks up
reflect
pretty
it.
quick.
Mhm.
And so if I'm much more intentional, you know, or if the fats are coming from a more pure source, like just my meat or something, or just some extra olive oil or whatever, versus I loaded a bunch of cheese on the top and I put ranch dressing and, you know, it, my body feels better. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like I ate heavy,
That's right.
which is good. So it gives me more energy versus feeling kind of sluggish. It's been harder, definitely, with the S meals. I do feel more sluggish. Like I kind of hit like a slump and start to feel like this morning I had one and I did good with my protein and stuff, but then about an hour and a half later, I was like, I could totally take a nap right now.
Yeah.
So,
and it may just be that you need to just go take a nap.
yes,
You got
so
a
I'm
lot
trying
going on
to
in there, girl.
reflect and decide. You know, I didn't have the opportunity for that this morning. This morning was
Yes, I
chaotic, but
understand.
trying to decide, do I need rest? Do I just need to incorporate more ease, which I'm trying to do, but I also, which is like everybody, but I tend to fall into like a rut of like, oh, I'm eating bread or I'm eating oats or whatever. Like I used to eat sweet potatoes all the time. I think I haven't had a sweet potato in probably 3 or 4 months. You know, so I don't,
good.
you just get in that rut, or everybody's on the quinoa kick. So it's like, okay, let me have quinoa, which is great. But I don't need to eat quinoa every single day necessarily. Like that's not necessarily serving my body the best.
That's right. You
when
need all the
I'm
you
having,
need all the beautiful variety. That's
yes, it's like incorporate the fruit, like, you know, do those things and not just limit yourself to the grains. The grains, I know quinoa is kind of considered, is that considered a grain?
It's a seed.
A seed, that's what I was thinking. So I know quinoa is a little bit different, but it's like the rice, bread, you know, rice pasta, those kind of things. It's like those do not serve me as well.
Me
But
either.
they're convenient, they're
They
easy,
are.
and I know that's
I
why
hear
people
you.
grab those. I get it, but
yes.
just saying, that's all.
Yes. No, that's good. That's good. So I did a Zoom class on crossovers and I taught them about a wise crossover, which is exactly what you described. So I told him, I said, okay, start with a fuel pull and add a carb source and then add a fat source. That's a wise crossover. You know, if you do like baked Tostitos and like beef with taco seasoning and then do a little lettuce and veggie on the side and then, you know, beans and brown rice and cheese and avocado. You know?
Yes.
I mean, you've got multiple fat and carb sources. So if you're wanting to have a crossover to avoid maybe going off plan or to support your body in pregnancy, start with that fuel pull, add one fat, one carb. Keep it light and simple. I mean, you don't have to max out your calories. That is calorie abuse and that's overloading it. And you're going to be very full and you probably won't be ready to fuel again in 3 to 4 hours, which is going to mess up your metabolism. So it's like, let's avoid that problem. And heavy crossovers have their place if that's something that you want to do once in a while, but they're definitely not beneficial to most people. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So Lindsay's traveled to see her daddy. And then she's had a vacation. So talk about traveling. This does not necessarily along with pregnancy, but I love to talk about traveling with clients when they've done it well, just to kind of give an overview of what you did to keep yourself successful.
Yes. With my when I went and visited my dad, I love my dad dearly, but he's definitely far, far, far from being unplanned. So immediately I go to the grocery store. I know there's things that he'll make that I can eat. I know there will be protein and stuff like that, but I still stocked up on fruits and veggies, lots of berries. I've been on a berry kick, especially strawberries. So I'm like buying the 2-pound pack and eating it by myself in a couple days.
Yeah.
It's like just always having those, whatever sounds good. So it's berries and cucumbers currently. So I just eat a lot of those. I did buy things like Greek yogurt, some lunch meat. I bought my sprouted bread, all that stuff. I brought my collagen with me. And then it was just like, if dad doesn't feel like cooking, hey, that's cool. Or if he does, I can just add my stuff to it. I bought a big bag salad mix. So I don't even need to chop the lettuce. It's like, just, you have it, here you go, throw it on the plate, because sometimes, oh my gosh, sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know how to, I did not send a voicemail. Sorry. It's okay. My husband.
Right.
Like, get the boys haircut. So anyway, so sometimes I, and everybody I'm sure does this, or sometimes like it's too hard because I have to cut up the produce.
Yeah.
If it's really that hard for you, honestly, go buy the already cut up cantaloupe or whatever. Right. I mean, I know it's more expensive, but if that's your reason to go off plan and to not eat healthy,
amen.
Go buy it.
That's right.
Invest in yourself. You're either doing that or you're paying the doctor for all your prescriptions and stuff. I'm sorry.
Preach it, girl.
Just me. So I'm like, I will buy the bag lettuce. I know that is not the most cost effective, but I will buy the bag lettuce.
Yes.
And I will have my salad. So with dad, it was pretty good. I'm sure there was a couple things where I thought, you know what? It is what it is. I'll have a little portion of that thing he wants me to try. And then just make sure the plate is rounded out with protein and vegetables. And the more specifically for me in my journey, and I'm assuming other ladies will resonate with this, but I have had so much stress in my life and especially surrounding my food, that I think that hindered my journey more than just eating the quarter cup of white rice.
Right.
You're going to be fine eating the quarter. I mean, I'm not advocating go off plan all the time, but I'm saying the amount of stress that I put on myself
to be 100% all the time.
Yes. Ended up hindering my journey. And it was like, when I finally started letting go was when the weight started releasing more. It was like, I have to be able to not be obsessive. That is not something that's healthy.
Right.
So that's how it was with dad. And then when my husband might come in and pray. He knows I'm on a podcast and praying. Okay. He just is like, so when we went on vacation as a family, you stay at a hotel.
Right.
They do not have a lot of on-plan options. Right. There is not a lot there. There's some eggs.
Yeah. She ate a lot of boneless burgers and little hot dogs.
I'm like, there's so much eggs and bacon. I ate eggs and bacon every stinking morning. The first morning I was like, I need some carbs. This is so bad. Like, I can't, because I don't even have anywhere to cook or anything. So I'm like, I will eat an orange with this. And I'm like, this is my meal.
Be okay.
You are good. And so the last day I think we were there, my husband, oh my gosh, my son looks so cute. The last day we were there, my husband went to Walmart and bought some berries. And I was so glorious. I loaded this cup.
Wait, you couldn't have given me a better gift. Who needs flowers? We want berries. Give all the Trim Healthy Mamas berries for Valentine's.
So I went down to the thing with my huge cup of berries. I was like, yes, this is like the best breakfast, So I was very thrilled to be able to have that. But I just, and so obviously I wasn't eating a lot of carbs in the morning because that's what we had, eggs and bacon. And so I would just look for something where I could have a reasonable crossover or a helper of some sort when we would go out to restaurants. I found some really great options that had things like sweet potatoes, quinoa, and I just ate those and I ate them freely. They had lots of veggies in them. So that's reasonable. And I did what I could while traveling and staying on plan, but making sure I got the carbs in that I knew my body needed. Yeah. So it's just adjusting. It's like I wouldn't normally eat an S every single morning for breakfast. That is not usually what I would do at all, but I made it work.
And it was only 3 or 4 mornings?
Yeah, 4 mornings. Hello, you are so
Hey,
handsome.
cutie pie.
That me
You
looks
are
so
so
cute. Guy's haircut.
I love your
What's up,
haircut, buddy. Do you know my
She
name?
likes your haircut. Who's that? Amy.
Oh,
Coach Amy. So sweet. Okay, go watch the show with the girls, okay?
she's almost done, baby. He's so fresh. So cute. So cute. Well, that's good. Thanks for talking about your traveling. And you eat out a good bit with friends.
Yeah.
I know you're like, I want to eat with my girlfriends. I just want to give you a high five for doing that. And like also high five your man and your mother-in-law. I know she helps as well with your babies. But I love that you take time to do things with other adults. And I know not everybody can and all that. But if you can, you should. You should.
I had years of not being able to.
Yes,
so it's nice to like.
Yeah, JJ and I, people think we see each other like every day. Like there was one lady, she goes, y'all aren't neighbors? I thought y'all were neighbors. I'm like, no, she's like 25 minutes away from me. But we haven't seen each other in real life for a good talking to in a long time. We actually were in town at the same time Friday afternoon and we met up at Walmart and talked while we shopped. But we're going to go eat lunch tomorrow. So I'm really excited. Yay. But you like to eat, is it First Watch that you go to, or did I get that wrong? Yeah. Okay.
I love First Watch.
Tell them what you get there.
Okay. I will say this is a heavy crossover, but it's my fave. So it's called the Farmhouse Skillet hash. So it's like there are seasoned potatoes. And then on the top, it sounds like a lot, but it's pretty, when I order it, at least most of the toppings are skimpy, but it has scrambled eggs on top. You get 2 eggs or whatever type of eggs you like, but I do scrambled. But it has bacon and cheese, kind of like they cut bacon little and then cheese. But it comes with roasted onions and tomatoes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm always like, can you put extra of those on there? It makes the dish.
Extra scoop, please.
It's so good. And then so it comes with a little side of fruit and toast. And so I just say, instead of the toast, I'd like their greens. They have like a mixed greens and lots of times they'll just load that plate up. I mean, that's if I'm usually I'll do that if I've worked out though. I would not usually just sit down and eat that. But normally I go to breakfast a lot with my kids on Friday morning and that's where they want to go. And it's right after I've worked out. So it's like my little treat for the week. I love it. They do also have really awesome other things. I mean, they have like I think they call it trifecta or something, but it's like your choice of meat, eggs, and potatoes, which would be in my opinion, a lighter crossover because it's not just loaded with the cheese and stuff on it. But that one's really good. And I always just ask for a side of greens again, because their greens are delicious. And then they have a quinoa bowl, which is really yummy. It's like they call it like power bowl or something. It's got chicken and quinoa. I honestly, it might pass as an E, but it's probably a crossover too. Like I get it without the cheese, but it's like a pesto sauce.
Yes, I got that. I've only been to First Watch once, and that's what I got. It was amazing.
It's so good. But I figured even with the sauce, I mean, making pesto is usually with olive oil. So I'm like, it's probably a crossover, but it's legit too. I just don't always want that for breakfast. It doesn't, I want some like eggs and.
Yeah. So good.
So yeah. And then obviously coffee.
That. I love it. So the last question that I had specifically to ask were, what are your focus foods? And I know you've touched on it a little bit, but I want to be a little more specific. Do you have any foods that you're focusing on right now at this midpoint in your pregnancy?
Honestly, I'm just trying to make sure I get in vegetables. They don't always sound good, especially ever since they've had COVID. It's been harder to deal with, which I had that, I think that was the beginning of January. So my taste buds have still been a little off. So I tend to do things like super swig or some kind of okra shake, like something just, yes, I love that one. And I'll put collagen in it or creamy dreamy, or if I'm just trying to be quick, if I don't have something else already planned with it, or if I've made my plate and I'm like, oh, there's not really much veggies on here, then I'll make that super quick on the side. That is my number one favorite way to get vegetables in. You just put so much spinach in there and you don't even taste it. It's so good. Or if I do like an okra shake, I still will always put spinach in there too, just so that I'm doubling up on veggies. So really trying to focus on veggies, really trying this week. I'm going to try and incorporate more fish. I realize I haven't had fish in probably, well, my husband made salmon like a week or two ago, but I used to eat tuna pouches like every week and felt phenomenal. And I haven't in a long time. So I bought some at Trader Joe's today.
Good job.
So really I am trying to do healthy fats to support, babies developing brain and things like that. I don't have specific foods. It's kind of more like what actually sounds good. What can I stomach? Because some days I still feel nauseous. But really with the increased protein, I'm also focusing on trying to really space the 3 to 4 hours after I finish my meal. Because it used to be like, oh, the start of my meal to the start of my next meal. But I think, honestly, because this is one of the things I pondered after I got pregnant, but I think I may have unintentionally been crossing over and tandem fueling and not realizing that. And my body may not have been finished processing the other food, because I would be like right at the 3 hour mark. I'm like 3 hours, because of the way my day is spaced out. But I'm like, it would probably be better for me if I really needed to. And I only had like a smaller spacing at some point just to have something feel full versus trying to do exactly 3 hours and then realizing I hadn't eaten, I'm having an S, and then not, at a certain point, I was wondering if that was kind of hindering me, but I didn't think about that till after I was pregnant. And so now I'm like, well, with the increased protein and then with waiting longer,
you're able to go that far because of that protein.
Yes. So that's definitely helping me.
Good. That's great. I had no idea what you were going to say, because, a lot of people are like, I use this powder and it's changed my life, but you're like, oh, no, you're like, you're my girl, because you're like, whatever tastes good. And make sure I got vegetables.
I know. And I'm like, I do.
And that's the beauty of THM, because you can be super food powder minded, but then you really don't have to if you don't want to.
No.
And if you decide to do it one day, it's fine. It's like, it's okay. I love it.
I do collagen in my coffee every morning. That is just one of those things that I always do. And then I'm learning to incorporate the creamy dreamy more. Like yesterday I ate some Ezekiel cereal and just put it in with the almond milk like Pearl does. And it was good.
Let me tell you, I have been doing the DO greens. I had kind of, I don't know why I was hesitant. Because it smells like chewed up grass and spit out and powdered up. That's what it really is. So I do like these, it's probably not even a quarter teaspoon. It is the smallest amount. Because I do a fuel pull shake almost every afternoon, because my goal is to do a fuel pull every day and then have okra. I'm doing a little 30-day challenge, and I'm doing good. I got my little check mark. So when I make that, I've been putting that little bit of duo greens because I have a ton of it and I need to use it. And so I'm like, why not? But I have seen, I think Coach Sarah Hamilton, I can't remember what her business name is. Sorry, girl. But she puts it on her eggs. Like she just sprinkles a little bit on top of her eggs.
What?
Yeah. Sprinkle a little bit on your salad. I mean, duh, we're ding dongs. Like I never thought of that. I'm like, I put it in a shake, But anyway, that was great. So anyway, hey,
mine's down at the bottom of my bin. I'm gonna get it out and I'll work on.
It's super good. It really helped my tummy.
That's awesome.
And you're getting all those beautiful greens and powders that old Serene wants us to use.
I know.
I know. I'm like, Serene, what in the world? What are these words? I've never heard of these things. Educate me.
I know.
Oh my goodness. All right, Lindsay, is there anything else you want to tell them?
I'm trying to think.
That's okay. She was like, I'm really concerned about my baby brain. I'm like, it's fine. I said, I got you, boo. I'm going to ask specific questions.
The pregnancy brain is really real this go around. Not to mention I have 5 other kids, but
That's right.
it's
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
I feel like I have pregnancy brain and I am certainly not pregnant. So I totally understand.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, because I know this has been a very special part of your life. There's a
Yes.
lot of things that we didn't touch on, but this is very special time for her. And I'm just really proud of you for everything that you have overcome so far. And I love you've had a trim healthy pregnancy. Like
Yes.
seriously, that's huge. And
Yes.
your postpartum recovery is going to be so much better. And we're just going to be able to hit the ground running and support your body as you nurse and you heal and you begin to go back into weight loss mode when you're ready. You know,
Yes.
it's gonna be so good. I'm so excited.
I keep reminding myself of that. Like anytime I start to kind of, I'm thinking about veering and just giving into that craving. And I'm like, you know what? Like, this is really not going, it's not, and it's not in an obsessive way. Cause like I said, my mindset has totally changed, but it's like, will this actually serve me? Like, why am I doing this? Why do I want that? Will it serve me in the future? Is it something that's because it's hard when you are going the opposite direction. So it's like, but will it actually serve my goals?
Yeah.
And, my goal is to be healthy. It's not, I finally learned that, like you said, the goal is not just weight loss. If that's the only thing you're concerned with,
it's going to be really
you're going to
hard
fall
to
short. It's going to be,
yes.
Not to say you can't. I did lose weight. I felt
Sure.
phenomenal, but if that's the only thing you're doing and it's not a life,
if that's your only
long mentality, then it'll fall really short. And so I just have learned that. And it's funny that the Lord used pregnancy to kind of help me overcome some of the obstacles and some of the, mental, habits and things that I was really hung up on. He was gracious. In the moment I was like, oh my gosh, but now it's like, okay, this is actually a gift. It's a gift to carry life. I know so many others are not able to or have struggled and after I threw my pity party, I realized like, hey, I'm able to do this and I'm able to be healthy and I'm able to be strong and still be there for my other kids and love my husband and do all the things God's asked of me. So it's actually been a real blessing.
Yeah.
So
I love it. It's been beautiful. I'm so glad you shared it. Thank you for saying yes.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, for sure. All right. We're going to tell everybody bye. I hope that you all, I know that all of y'all were encouraged, whether you're pregnant or not, because this is really good. It's a really good story.
Thank you.
Love it. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Yes. Bye, everybody.